I have to say, these two basically prove all my problems with this guy's writing style for characters, right? The twins here. And I'll tell you why. Because the boy twin throughout the entire game has been an absolute ass. He has been one of the worst characters. Every argument, every fight, every disagreement, every bit of drama that we've had in this game so far has come from him. When someone says something, he doesn't play devil's advocate. He doesn't question something. He just outright denies it and then goes about his day, you know? Everything he's done is awful, and he is written to be so abusive to his sister. But because this guy doesn't really understand abusive relationships or anything at all about writing characters, now that he's allowed his sister to do something for the first time in his life, he's just a good guy. Just a good guy now. We all gotta just accept that he's a good guy now. That's it. He's just a good guy, you know? Not a bad guy anymore, just a good guy. And that is the problem with all of the Danganronpa likes. It's 100% the absolute problem with everything he does. Because he just doesn't know how to write characters. And very often he relies on abuse to give them some backstory and stuff. But it goes nowhere. You know, like a lot of the characters in Danganronpa, the big booby ones especially, like I think the one that was she a martial artist? No, she wasn't a martial artist. The gymnast in the second game, the airhead that basically caused every problem ever. Her whole story was, oh yeah, my mum used to bring boyfriends back and they used to sexually abuse me, but it was funny, right? Oh yeah, the person who trained me, he was a pervert and liked to grab my boobs, but you know, I'm a good fighter now. Yay! You know, it's such an ugly look every time he writes a character. And now this girl, like, she's just being abused by her brother for forever in front of her eyes. And we've just forgiven him because he decided to fight. And that's it. And that's just it. That's the character. That was his character, that thing. He was an abusive asshole, and now he's okay because he said okay to one thing in her life. It's really weak binary writing, hiding behind excessive, flourishing, contrived exchanges. Yeah, you see, I've always said the guy that does Zero Escape and AI Somnium is very much the better character writer. Because I like AI Somnium. AI Somnium is a masterpiece, full stop. But a lot of the masterpiece of AI Somnium comes from the characters. The characters are so well written, and it had to be for the first game because it all relies on the relationships of all of those characters in that game coming together. If the relationships and the characters weren't believable, weren't likable, weren't well written, that game would have been horrible. Because the actual story around it is the same kind of story he writes all the time. It's very convoluted and really stupid. But it worked because you love the characters. And that's why I said, like, I don't like the second story, the second AI Somnium story. I don't like it. I think it was a bad story. One of my favorite games, because it didn't matter that it was a bad story, all the characters were so good that I forgave the bad writing on the plot points of what was going on, which I won't go into for spoilers. I'm not going to spoil that game in a completely different game, because everyone should play AI Somnium. But I love the characters. Still fun. Ota was the worst. Ota was the fucking worst. The clumsy, oh my god, the clumsy fucking nurse. Instead of developing in dimensional building, I mean, even the creepier stuff in grossly character games like Harvester have more. Yeah, because this is the thing. If any of these things ever went somewhere, fair, right? Like absolutely fair. If any of these things went somewhere, but it's not. It's always played as a joke, and I'm like, teenagers being sexually abused isn't a joke. Why is that their only character thing? Is that they were sexually abused and they laughed it off? Why does he write so many characters like that? That being said, he writes very good dystopian, future set, sci-fi type, science fantasy, I guess, type stories. Which is why Like, I genuinely think they would make the best game ever if they made a dystopian type game where he wrote the story and the Zero Escape guy wrote all the characters. They'd probably make the best story ever. You know? They genuinely would. But I hate playing Danganronpa games these days because, like, just every time you'll talk to a character and they'll be like, oh yeah, someone abused me, and that is my character now. But I'm not gonna be traumatized or anything because abuse is funny. And I'm like, yeah, I'm too old to ignore that anymore. That's just gross. Why is it always the girls who writes that way? Because it's the only thing they know. I genuinely think, like, they write boys quite well. But I don't think they realize that girls have the same fucking things happen to them. You know, like, and the horrible thing is, he wrote, what was she called in the first game? Chihiro? Is that the one that was a boy, but they had to pretend they were a girl? That character was so well written. But then you look at all the women, and it's like, ugh, yeah, no. Or all the girls, because none of them are women. It's annoying, but these two characters here, they pretty much just, they're the perfect, if you ever needed to explain what is wrong with Danganronpa-like games and the guy who's made it, or the guy that created its writing, you just point at these characters and go, learn about these two. Just learn about them. Just see how they act and how nothing happens to them. And how we kind of just, like, victim blame the girl for being abused by her brother and then shrug it off and go, well, they're fighting now, we don't have to worry. And then you know all the problems. Or just go and play Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls and see what they did to, like, an 8-year-old girl. And then come back to me and tell me how much you hate him, because I do.